She's the longest reigning monarch in British history, and this Thursday Her Majesty the Queen celebrates her 90th birthday. In spite of becoming a nonagenarian, the Queen still works 40 hours a week, and it's that dedication to duty that leads many of us to ask, how does she do it? On Songs of Praise this week, I've come to Westminster Abbey to find out about something very important to Her Majesty, something which has sustained and inspired her down the years, her personal faith. And I'll be meeting the organist honoured at this year's Royal Maundy ceremony for his 5 decades of service.
I suppose really the 50 years has been one long Songs of Praise.
To mark St George's Day, I'm at Windsor Castle to find out more about the man himself and his royal connections.
And later I'll be giving you information on our brand new competition to design a Christmas card in aid of children in need. Our music today reflects some of the Queen's favourite hymns, and there'll be a rousing performance from Catherine Jenkins. But we start with a hymn that was sung here in 1947 at the wedding of the Queen and Prince Philip. And at that time this tune was virtually unknown, so it is thanks to her that it's now become so popular. It was here in Westminster Abbey in 1953 that Her Majesty the Queen was crowned. It was a day full of pomp and ceremony, a celebration for the whole country and for the wider Commonwealth. 6 months earlier, as part of her Christmas broadcast, the Queen spoke to the nation on the radio.
I want to ask you all, whatever your religion may be, to pray for me on that day. To pray that God may give me wisdom and strength to carry out the solemn promises I shall be making.
What's clear from that early broadcast is the emphasis the Queen places on her faith in God. So, to mark her 90th birthday, 3 Christian charities have published a special book exploring the significance of her beliefs. One of the authors is Mark Green, and advising him is the Queen's head of royal chaplains. So Mark, the Queen has written the foreword for your book.
Completely thrilled, gobsmacked, surprised, unbelievable honour.
And very unusual, of course.
Extremely unusual. I think she very rarely provides forewords to books, particularly about herself, which perhaps suggests how much this means to her.
Well, it all happened here, didn't it? The coronation right here at Westminster Abbey. Now, she spoke about solemn promises. What would those promises have been?
Basically, she promised to serve God and to serve her neighbour, in other words, all the citizens of her extensive worldwide kingdom.
And I think in everything she does, that's what she sees it as. I'm serving people, I'm serving the Commonwealth, I'm seeking to honour them, celebrate them.
And in doing that, she was basically being obedient to the two great commandments in the Bible, which was given to her, of course, in the service, to love God with all her heart and soul and mind and strength, and to love her neighbour as herself.
The Queen often talks about loving our neighbour, and I suppose sometimes we think of that as doing a kind act to somebody. But I think for her, it's a very rich understanding of our, in a sense, our duty to make the best contribution we possibly can to the people around us.
For me, the life of Jesus Christ, the Prince of Peace, whose birth we celebrate today, is an inspiration and an anchor in my life.
When we were researching for the book, my co-author Kath and I, we read every single one of the Queen's Christmas speeches and a lot of others beside. So for example, in 2014, there's this beautiful bit about Jesus being her anchor and her inspiration. So on the one hand, he's her security, her rock. On the other hand, he's the one, if you like, who puts the wind in her sails and helps her move forward to face the challenges that she does.
Well, I think she sees the Church of England as being an organisation, an institution that creates an atmosphere or an ethos in the country where people of any faith or none can come together, can work together for peace.
And you hear this from the Chief Rabbi, you hear this from other faith leaders. You know, nobody does multi-faith better than the Queen. I think what we see in the Queen's life is that she's sought to be faithful to her God and faithful to us, to serve us. But as she says in the foreword to the book, he indeed has been faithful to her.
Down the years, thousands of entertainers have performed for the Queen, including one man who's been singing for her since he was a young chorister at St Paul's Cathedral, Julian Ovenden. You might recognise him from the dashing role he played on Downton Abbey, but he has a wonderful singing voice, as you hear on his new album.
Yes, I guess she's not for me.
So I know you've sung for the Queen on many occasions. From what to what?
Well, certainly from St Paul's Cathedral, from big sort of ceremonial services, to I've done some charity galas, I've done some private events for her, and yeah, it's sort of slightly strange, really, to be singing, you know, to the Queen when she's sort of sat where you are, singing up close and personal, but a great privilege.
And you have a very special date coming up, don't you?
Amazingly, I've been asked to sing at her 90th birthday party at Windsor Castle.
On the day?
On the day, yes. I don't think hopefully I won't be appearing out of a cake in. Yes, so that's really a great honour. I look forward to it very much.
But in many ways, you are performing for someone who has almost become an old family friend.
Well, sort of. My father was one of her chaplains for 15 years and looked after her spiritual life in Windsor.
So did you therefore see her in some quite informal situations?
Yes, there was an event every year when she would come to our house for drinks after a carol service, which caused great sort of consternation for my mother. But yes, so you saw her, in a slightly different, more personal environment.
So on Songs of Praise, what do you think the Queen would like to hear you sing today?
Well, I know she's a big fan of Rodgers and Hammerstein, and so I thought it might be appropriate to do something from their great hit, Carousel, and the very famous anthem, You'll Never Walk Alone, particularly because I think the themes of the song are faith, a strong sense of faith and a sense of determination and perseverance.
When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm is a golden sky and the sweet silver song of a lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown.